It is Friday, September 19th, and President Trump officially designating Antifa a domestic terror group. What exactly does this mean? What will change after this designation? We'll show you. Also, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar facing impeachment. Is that possible? Yes, it is. And the latest on ABC firing Jimmy Kimmel, corporate media, Democrats, Barack Obama himself speaking out about cancel culture. You have to be kidding. About the importance of freedom of speech. Really? You're 5 years too late. And more stories as well from around the country.
Regarding Antifa, what you posted. NPR, sir.
We're gone.
Regarding
Are they still here?
We are?
Are they still here? Oh, good. Congratulations.
Regarding designating them a terrorist organization, when they don't have defined leadership or membership, how do you target them?
Who does it?
Antifa.
We're going to find out, right? We're going to see. People have been talking about it for a long time. We're going to see. Did they have anything to do with your network? Okay. Well, we're going to find out.
President Trump announcing yesterday, while still in the UK for his state visit, announcing to the world that Antifa will be designated a domestic terror group, using exceptionally strong language in this announcement, intended to set the tone for his DOJ to make this a priority. Writing on Truth Social, I am pleased to inform our many USA patriots that I am designating Antifa, a sick, dangerous, radical left disaster, as a major terror organization. I will also be strongly recommending that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Interestingly, Trump making this announcement after he and Melania finished their meeting with the royal family at Windsor Castle yesterday. Did something happen in that meeting? Did he learn something new? Or was he just ticked off after hearing Antifa's London chapter gathering outside the castle, chanting "Charlie's in a box"? That's what they were chanting while Trump was in this meeting. We know Charlie Kirk's assassin was loosely affiliated with Antifa, or at least Antifa-adjacent groups, engravings, anti-fascist messages on his bullet casings. Antifa standing for anti-fascist, right? Now, how exactly does the DOJ go about doing this? How will they charge Antifa as a domestic terror group, or prosecute them, or investigate them? Look, to bring terror charges in this country, there's a high bar. You need to prove the person or group is attempting to terrorize civilian populations and commit acts intended to intimidate or coerce political outcomes. Does Antifa fit that bill? Yes, they do. But the people who created Antifa, who created that movement, they were smart. They didn't create it as a typical organization like a Turning Point USA. No, there is no top-down organization with Antifa. There's no leadership hierarchy. They have this amorphous, decentralized network of different groups, decentralized nodes, essentially, operating across the country. It's why during Trump's first presidency, during Trump 1.0, his DOJ looked into this, and they decided not to pursue it. Trump called for this in 2020, but the then FBI Director Christopher Wray decided to ignore Trump's request, testifying to Congress about why they didn't do anything about Antifa, saying, and I quote, "Antifa is not a group or an organization, but a movement or an ideology." That's how Chris Wray viewed Antifa. I can assure you, though, that's not how this FBI and DOJ see it. Cash and Pam, they believe Antifa may not be a top-down organization, but they do have organized networks. They'll be targeting the local chapters of Antifa, which do have a type of organizational structure to them, and they will be aggressively investigating the funders of these groups.
That's the other thing. They have signs, and they're all professionally made. Real protesters make them in their basement. And they're all the same.
So who's behind it? Do you have a gut feeling?
You hear Soros. I don't know. We're going to find out if he's behind it. But it's incitement to riot. That's a criminal act. And people are dying because of it. So it's really, it's death. So we're gonna find out, and it should have been done a long time ago.
Investigative journalist Carolyn Barlasanko going undercover with Antifa and reporting back that they are pretty organized, being trained in this militaristic fashion, that somebody, she says, is organizing these training sessions that she attended, funding these military veterans to come in and train us, she said, funding the bail funds that bailed us out of jail. Watch what she said.
Karlin Borisenko is an undercover investigative journalist for Decode the Left who's infiltrated these terror cells. Karlin, tell me about how these people train. They look pretty militaristic.
Yeah, absolutely. They do have sessions where they bring in people with military experience. Anti-war is a very big thing for Antifa, so they do hand-to-hand combat trainings. I was just undercover with them in New York City over the weekend, where they had a whole self-defense class where they were teaching people how to violently, confront the police, but also defend themselves if they needed to be put in that position.
And why do they always get out of jail so quickly? You see all these people get popped, they get bailed right out, and charges never stick. How is that?
Well, Antifa, actually, they train people on how to get arrested. And it's interesting with far left subcultures because they actually volunteer to get arrested and go through this type of training where they are provided legal support, they are provided lawyers, they are provided all of this stuff with mutual aid. And so as soon as they get arrested, Antifa basically goes down to the jail and they bail them out, and they are all set up with a lawyer and ready to go. So they plan all of this stuff out ahead of time, and they have the resources set up for people to be able to be taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, obviously someone's paying for their legal representation. What is the core mission of Antifa? Is it anarchy? Are they anarchists?
Yeah, Antifa are anarchists. Their primary goal is the violent overthrow of the federal government. I cannot emphasize this enough. We've been hearing a lot of talk about civil war over the last couple of years between Democrats and Republicans, red versus blue. I firmly believe that the real civil war we have coming is the radical revolutionary socialists and communists in Antifa versus the federal government. That is their goal. That is their only goal. And people need to start taking this problem very, very seriously.
After Trump's announcement yesterday, Democrats began to get very nervous about this. Some of their biggest donors realize are likely the same people, some of the same people who are funding these Antifa-aligned networks, funding the bailout funds. Someone's doing that. Well, today, get this, Democrats introducing legislation to protect them. You can't make this up. Watch.
Senator, let's talk about that call to action, because today there was a bicameral effort, meaning members of the House, members of the U.S. Senate, presenting a plan forward, additional legal protections for individuals who are targeted by this administration. I want you to talk us through how that might work, and then also talk to us about whether or not you can take some of those principles and apply them to left-leaning groups that, as you said, are being targeted.
Yep. So what we did today, a bicameral group of senators, we said freedom of speech is sacrosanct. It is our most precious right. And what we need to do is to put into law language that will stop the federal government from taking away those free speech rights. And it would give additional tools to individuals that and organizations that are being unfairly targeted or attacked by agents of the federal government, including the President of the United States. That's exactly what we see right now.
Dems and the media latching on to this ABC firing of Jimmy Kimmel yesterday, using it to change the conversation and paint Republicans as anti-free speech. Coincidentally, though, unfortunately, all of this happening one day after FCC Commissioner Carr went on Benny Johnson's show and threatened ABC's parent company to police Jimmy Kimmel. Watch what he said.
When you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. As you've indicated, there are avenues here for the FCC. So there are some ways in which I need to be a little bit careful, because we could be called ultimately to be a judge on some of these claims that come up. But I don't think this is an isolated incident. I mean, you go back to Representative Swalwell, and he had a tweet out last week where he was saying that, emphasizing that Charlie Kirk's killer was a straight white male from a Republican family that voted for Donald Trump. In some quarters, there's a very concerted effort to try to lie to the American people about the nature, as you indicate, of one of the most significant, newsworthy public interest acts that we've seen in a long time. And what appears to be an action by Jimmy Kimmel to play into that narrative that this was somehow a MAGA or Republican motivated person. If that's what happened here with his conduct, that is really, really sick. And I've been very clear from the moment that I have become chairman of the FCC. I want to reinvigorate the public interest. And what people don't understand is that the broadcasters, and you've gotten this right, are entirely different than people that use other forms of communication. They have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. And we can get into some ways that we've been trying to reinvigorate the public interest and some changes that we've seen. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
Democrats up in arms over that statement, claiming that the Trump administration's silencing the First Amendment. Now, look, personally, I don't think we should even have an FCC. We should completely abolish the FCC. The federal government has no place in policing who gets to speak on the air. And if Carr hadn't said anything to Benny Johnson about ABC, they likely would have canceled Jimmy Kimmel's show anyways. Both of their syndications pulled Kimmel's show the other day, both Sinclair and Nexstar. That's like 60 plus stations who pulled Jimmy Kimmel off the airwaves. ABC would have had to cancel him. They would have just lost so much money keeping him on the air after that. And we saw the same thing with MSNBC the other day. They fired Matthew Dowd, not because Trump's FCC threatened them, because they did the right thing. The guy was a creep, spewing propaganda right after Charlie Kirk was shot. It was disgusting. Democrats now using this, though, as a hook to both change the conversation away from left-wing political violence and to paint Republicans as anti-free speech. Come on. How rich is that? These are the same people who tried for 8 years, to cancel anyone who disagreed with them. Over 212 conservatives, prominent conservatives, were canceled in 2020 alone. They created under the Biden Department of Homeland Security what a court ruled as a censorship industrial complex, where they forced these big social media companies to give the government back doors to suspend, to shadow ban conservative accounts. Vice President Kamala Harris posting on X today, this administration's attacking critics and using fear as a weapon to silence anyone who would speak out. We cannot dare to be silent in the face of a frontal assault on free speech. Really? That's a very different Kamala Harris from 5 years ago when she called for Donald Trump to be suspended from Twitter. Remember this? Saying, look, let's be honest, Donald Trump's Twitter account should be suspended. How about Democrat Jamie Raskin, another free speech absolutist in action suddenly? What happened to this old Jamie Raskin? Watch this.
We'll be taking action with colleagues this week to write to him, to ask him to renounce those comments and to clean up his act.
But you don't get to go around as the government and police other people's speech. I mean, understand, if we go down this road, and it seems like this is where we are destroying the freedom of expression in America.
And look, we could play clip after clip of prominent Democrats openly calling for the government to police speech. So as nice as it is to see them finally defending the First Amendment, take it with a grain of salt, folks. Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar facing calls for impeachment. A growing group of Republicans in Congress agreeing with the president that she should be impeached. Trump writing yesterday, Ilhan Omar's country of Somalia is plagued by a lack of central government control, persistent poverty, hunger, resurgent terror, piracy, decades of civil war, corruption, and pervasive violence, 70% of the population living in extreme poverty, and widespread food insecurity. Somalia is consistently ranked among the world's most corrupt countries, including bribery, embezzlement, and a dysfunctional government. All of this, and Ilhan Omar telling us how to run America. P.S. Wasn't she the one who married her brother in order to gain citizenship? What scum we have in our country telling us what to do and how to do it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. Ilhan Omar, accused of immigration fraud years ago for allegedly marrying her brother to gain access to this country. If true, it could set the stage for possible revocation and deportation back to Somalia. All of these accusations, though, stretching back years. The FBI under Joe Biden refused to investigate these claims. All of this originally reported by journalist Miranda Devine from the New York Post. Here's what she told Tucker Carlson in August 2021. Watch this.
So it's been known for quite a while that Ilhan Omar apparently married her own brother to help him gain entry illegally into the country. That's a violation of immigration law. That actually happened, it turns out. And now we're learning the FBI had evidence to confirm it, but didn't do anything about it. Miranda Devine is an actual journalist. She works at the New York Post, where she writes a column. She joins us tonight to explain what exactly happened. Miranda, thanks so much for coming on.
Pleasure, Tucker. Well, some basically Republican operatives up in Minnesota decided to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on private investigators to really find out if Ilhan Omar was a genetic match, the DNA match to the man who was her second husband. They went to 3 continents. They found a cigarette butt and a drinking straw, which they sent it to a DNA laboratory and found conclusively that the DNA matched, that the second husband was a sibling, according to this DNA sample. So the very day that they were going to unleash this on the world, and in fact I was interviewing one of the people involved, the FBI swooped on the gentleman, Anton Lazaro, from this Republican PAC up in Minnesota, and arrested him on some different charges. Who knows whether he's guilty or not guilty. I mean, he's not guilty until proven, but he's in jail. And so his story never got to see the light of day. I mean, luckily he'd told the FBI they were not interested. They told him the statute of limitations had run out. We managed to see the website before he took it down, before he was arrested, and managed to report the story such as it was.
Let me know what you think about this. Should Kash Patel look into this? At least let the American people, especially people in Minnesota, know if these claims are true or not. If their congresswoman, their Minnesota congresswoman, is really a immigration fraudster. I think so. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.